and we are live on Facebook.
Good evening. A very good Thursday evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. With great pleasure and immense gaiety, I formally invite you all to today's first episode of a much awaited talk show series, The Vantage Point. The first episode, as you all must be aware, solely focuses on the Toastmasters and leadership. To enrich us all with immense knowledge and takeaways, we have a very special guest with us today, the most sought after person in every field we look into. To not give away much details, I would now like to welcome the moderator for today's talk show, Toastmaster Pragya. Pragya is a lifestyle trainer with a brand name, Living Life by profession, and a passionate Toastmaster and also an equally passionate dancer. A dual member of Hyderabad Toastmasters and Horizon Toastmasters Club. Please join me in welcoming her to the podium and take over the stage from here. Over to you, Toastmaster Pragya.
Thank you, Toastmaster Priyadarshini, for that elaborate introduction for me. However, that's nothing to what the guest we have with us today. For the benefit of everybody, I would say I fall short of words when I have to introduce Toastmaster Dr. Chandra. With his bag full of exposures and the achievements that we have got, I think it is too much for all of us to handle. Let me start first with his educational background. He is an alumni of IIM Lucknow, a doctor of philosophy, which is a PhD from the University of Milan. But the education front is not the only thing which he is great at. He is also the current CEO of a group of institutions with over 18 years of experience in the education space. He is an REX Karambir Global Change Championship Fellow person from 2019. He was also ranked 7th in the Education World's ranking and 33 among the rising stars of Indian education in March 2017. Chandrashekhar, who was also known as CSK in the Toastmasters fraternity, has also shown audience with a win-win scenarios in all the professional relationships and has delivered more than 900 presentations to audience of all sizes and all areas. But when it comes to Toastmaster fraternity, it's no exception to his achievements. He was designated as a President Distinguished District Director of Toastmasters International. He is also a current Pathways Ambassador who was there for 2017 and 18, a Program Quality Director, Governor Marketing, who is a Club Road Director, Division Governor, and Club President. There is no area which he has left unturned. So I would say any amount of exposure that we think is more, he has achieved it all. With that, I would like to present to you our very own Toastmaster, Dr. Chandrashekhar, for today's talk. Hello, Dr. Chandrashekhar. Can you please have a word from you before we start the session? Host, can you please unmute?
Good evening, namaste, and thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here on this forum, and I'm very thankful for your kind introduction. Thank you very much, Pragya.
Thank you, Toastmaster Chandrashekhar. And as we are about to start the session, there is a little information for our audience here. You will be muted throughout the meeting. However, if Chandrashekhar asks you any particular questions, we will be unmuting you and you can note down your answers in the chat box which is there. No private or personal chats will be open, so no options left for all of you. Also, the videos of all the participants will be switched off throughout the session. Only at the time of Q&A session, the videos can be and the audios will be given permission to switch on. With this, we look forward to have an amazing session with all the lovely audience with us over here. Now, I would request the host to please mute all the audience and only keep me and Chandra on unmute. Also, I would request all the audience with us to please switch off your videos. As we have heard about the amazing introduction and the exposure which Toastmaster Chandra holds, Chandra, we would really want to know, you have achieved so much on your personal front, on your professional front as well. But who is Chandra deep down when I take all these achievements from you? Who is Chandra deep down?
I think deep down he still is a mother's boy who always prefers homemade food and enjoys his morning coffee with newspaper without disturbance and spends or likes to spend quality time with friends, with people discussing anything under the sun, politics or uh, people or the movies, cricket, you name it, we keep discussing about all. I think I can say in a nutshell, I am a typical middle class boy from the south of India.
That's great to know. And I think everybody deep down has that kind of a preference towards a social life, which you have steered quite well, I would say. As we know about who Chandra is personally and have had an introduction of who Chandra is professionally, tell us something about what was that one thing that made you gear up to be a part of Toastmasters? Was there any specific incidents which happened, or was there some kind of a zest which you had?
Uh, the story of me getting into Toastmasters is quite interesting. I have said this quite often, but I'll repeat it here, but I'll keep it short. I came to know about Toastmasters in 2002. That is 2002 is when I actually came across the world of Toastmasters. This was in Bangalore, and I was doing my undergraduate program. And people in my college told me that this is the forum for you to learn public speaking and leadership. And let me be very frank, back then I was a rebel. So I said, that's not how public speaking is done. You can't go into a room and learn public speaking. You want to learn public speaking, you need to be out there on the stage and try to talk to people and try to go about learning there. So what I did was not join Toastmasters in 2002. 9 years later, or 10 years later to be precise, in 2012 I become a Toastmaster. Now, the journey of this 10 years actually made me realize how wrong I was when I said you don't learn public speaking in a room and you learn it when you go out onto the big days. Because what I realized in those 10 years is it's not about what you say, it's about how you say. Because whatever you may want to say, people are definitely going to listen, but the impact of what you say will be on how you deliver it. And that realization took me to Speechcraft in 2011, towards the end of 2011, October 2011, if I remember right. And 2012, I officially became a Toastmaster at my club back then. And even today, I'm a part of the same club, Elan Hyderabad Toastmasters Club in Hyderabad.
That's great. And I think all of us Toastmasters here would agree that yes, a room, if it is for Toastmasters, give us immense learning that is unparalleled to anything else. So as you have told Toastmaster Chandra that you started from 2009 and then you also joined Speechcraft program. So if I may ask you, how much difference or what kind of a learning do you think you had starting from that very first speech or first session which you had for Speechcraft and till now when you are a much sought after leader in Toastmasters?
See, I still remember the first education session I attended in Speechcraft, and the learning which I had was every speech has a beginning, a body, and a conclusion, or what we learn in the manual: opening, body, and conclusion. I mean, it may sound very silly, but I did not know that every speech should have a beginning, body, and a conclusion. I thought standing up on stage and speaking to audience and delivering some quotations and punchlines and trying to appeal or appealing to their emotions was all about public speaking, raising your voice and trying to make gestures. All of that is what we see on television. What we see on famous orators' speeches. So I thought that is public speaking. But when I actually learned it at the education session, that the beginning, the body, and the conclusion, I think that is so very, very important, because whether you are speaking for a minute or an hour or a day, the opening, body, conclusion framework gives you to put everything into context and perspective. So that has been a great learning for me. And of course, every project you do, or every speech you take up, every role you play, you end up learning a lot, because for every one way you do it, there are equal number of right ways to do things from among your members or from among your audience. They will teach you, they will help you learn that this is good, but that is also equally good. So when you're open for that, that's when you go with one way of doing it, but you come back with 1,000 ways, if not less, of doing it in the right way. So I think that's the great benefit which we gain out of Toastmasters. And I have always been at the receiving end of this entire environment.
That's great. So, as you talked about that, we get learning from every role that we take in Toastmasters. I have two questions for you here. One, which one do you think was your favorite role in all the roles that exist in Toastmasters? And second, what was it which made you go beyond these club roles which are there or the EC roles which are there and take you to the level of taking roles which were beyond your club, going to the district levels and so much more?
So I'll try to answer the first question very honestly. For me, the best role I enjoyed playing in a club meeting was a table topics master. And the very reason I wanted to do a TTM role is because I won't be called to speak on stage, because I'll be the guy who will be calling people to come and speak on stage. But as luck would have had it, I hardly got an opportunity to become a table topics master in my club meetings or wherever, because I was on a spree to both go and give up speeches as well as try to learn by attempting table topics. So I did not do much. Now, when it comes to leadership roles, and I understand the context is leadership, frankly, I did not, for one, choose to become a leader in the first place. In my club, when I was selected or elected to become the president, that was more of I can say, not a choice, it was a force, because we were few of us who turned up for the election day, and as fate would have had it, the roles started filling up, and I had to become the president. In fact, that was how I became the president, and I did not have any clue or any idea that I'll become a president. But that is still you become a president, and that's what happened with me. But the minute I became a president, there was a kind of a different experience altogether, because although you might have been there out of luck or out of force or no choice, what I understood was the club has high expectations, because my club back then was one of the very few community clubs, and we were kind of looking up to one Hyderabad Toastmasters, because Hyderabad Toastmasters was very, very, I can say, respected and very well laid out club there, and we wanted to kind of emulate certain best practices. There was Madhapur Toastmasters, there was Vision Toastmasters. So there are these five clubs which are community clubs, and everybody will look forward to. And we had our expectation to carry on, and we had a reputation to live up to. So when I am the president, as the saying goes, you are the face of the club and you need to lead by example. And that is when I actually started looking at what exactly is supposed to be done. And let me tell you this, I had great mentors, I had great friends who were already role players, and they started giving me the support, and my EC was amazing. They backed me up, and we did have a fantastic year that year. And that created the confidence in me saying, okay, when I can lead a group of 20 people or 25 people into a desired goal, then there is something more to this. I need to really start pulling up my socks and preparing for that particular role. And then maybe I was lucky that I went on to become the division director, and from then on to the district director. So it was not as though I was planning it, but it was just that the door started opening up when, as they say, right, when the student is ready, the guru arrives. So maybe the club prepared me for these big roles in the district.
Thank you. And I suppose that today, as you are the guru, as you said, for all of us today, whoever is listening to you, tell us something of what you would suggest people. What do they need to bring in themselves to bring out that leader and get that kind of a confidence to take these leadership roles? And what should they keep in mind when they are doing these roles?
Well, I'll say it is very easy and very simple. You just keep an open mind and be open for opportunities. Because what I've realized in the last 8 years at Toastmasters is you never know when an opportunity is going to knock on you, knock upon you. But as one of the world champions of public speaking, Craig Valentine says, it's not about getting ready, it's about staying ready. So you got to stay ready, and it may be anything. It may be giving you that evaluation, it may be taking up that table topics, or it may be even being ready to introduce yourself to a stranger altogether, or some of the bigger issues like handling some leadership roles or becoming a contest master or whatever. So stay open. And let me tell you this: Toastmasters club, whichever club it is, it may be a community club or a college club or a corporate club, there are no shortage of opportunities. It is just that we have people, there is shortage of people. You don't have people to fill up all the opportunities, but there are n number of opportunities, and if you have it in you to take it up, you can do it. I mean, let me take your example. The other day I was just learning about you, and I was pleasantly surprised when you said you have 485 meetings under your belt as an attendee. I mean, I don't know the kind of roles you have done, but in the last 7 months, if you have managed 485 meetings, that itself is a world of opportunity. So, staying ready is my answer. Keep your mind open and be open for opportunities, because there are no shortage of opportunities at your Toastmasters club.
And I totally agree to it that there's no shortage of opportunities in Toastmasters. But we have very commonly seen that people have a lot of fear. And when they see people who have already achieved something in Toastmasters, a common thought comes to their mind that it might have been just an easy walk for them. They might have been made for something like this. So, do you really think that you were already made for something like this? And what kind of a challenges did you face from your first icebreaker speech till till becoming a DTM and becoming a distinguished Toastmaster and becoming the president in the whole this division? So, what were the kind of challenges which you faced?
So let me tell you this. I am a great admirer of Sachin Tendulkar, and I, in fact, gave up watching cricket after he retired for some time, and now I keep tab of the scores, and I did enjoy the India Australia Test series. But the fact is, everybody remembers Sachin for that paddle sweep shot, the sweep which he makes, where even the bowler, the fielder, and even the umpire has no clue. They would have almost ruled out that ball, but then the last minute he comes and sweeps it to the four. Now, people thought when they looked at it for the first time, the second time, the third time, people thought it was a chance effect. It was more like a fluke. It was a luck. And when a reporter asked Sachin, saying that, how did you do that? It was like a luck shot for you and it went up to the boundary. And he said, yeah, it was a lucky shot, but that lucky shot took me 20 years to perfect it. So what I mean to say is I'm not comparing myself to Sachin Tendulkar or anybody who is there to Sachin Tendulkar, but the fact is overnight success takes a lot of time. It may sound and look very complete when you actually witness it, but then please go one step beyond and see what is behind it. Because anybody who is looking perfect on stage or who's trying to give you that feeling that wow, he's born for it or she's made for it, they have a lot of struggles beneath them. They have gone through that and they've become perfect over a period of time. And thanks to audience like you, they have made themselves perfect. So what I'm trying to tell you here is there is nothing called somebody is made for it. No, we make our mind to achieve it, and then we bring all our energy together, all our focus together to make it happen. So in Toastmasters, if you see anybody perfect, thanks Toastmasters that they have made that person perfect. It is not that they are born for it. So that's the first part of your question. Now, the second part, when you said that what are the challenges you face? Well, I think, in life, there are only so many situations which are standard operating procedures. Okay. For every standard operating protocol or procedure, there is an exception, and you and I and everyone who's watching this are a witness to this. So, what you can do is keep yourself prepared to accept the realities of life. Okay, so I mean, it has happened with me when I was preparing for my contest. I went there and I had won at my club level, when I won at my area level, and when I went at the division level, I won at the division level. But when I finally ended up at the district, I blanked out. I blanked out. It was the same speech. It was the same damn speech, but I forgot a couple of lines. And it is not just I by heart or I remember my entire speech in my mind and I go and speak, but for some odd reason, I blanked out. Now, if you blame me for blanking out, yes, you're free to do that. But if you look at the recovery which I made after blanking out, then you are saying that you are human, right? So the fact what I'm trying to tell you here is when it comes to speaking or when it comes to leadership, there are a lot of challenges. I mean, I remember when I was in the district leadership, uh, every day was a challenge. It was looking very rosy from outside, but every day was a challenge. Not that it was a torture or a trouble, but then you anticipate certain things and make your plans. You have your con call in the night at 9 o'clock or 9:30. You go to bed after the con call. You wake up with a message which actually puts the entire plan of the last night out of the window. Now, are you going to say I give up on this, or are you going to say no, no, I am going to buck up and then look at what can I do to make my real plan come through? That's the challenge I'm talking about. So, not giving up may sound very simple and cliche as perseverance, but then making it happen is what takes the personality to do it.
I suppose the audience here, there's something for us all to learn the golden rules which we have got from Chandra, that we should never give up. We should be able to accept the reality that is coming our way. And all the more, we should know that challenges are a part of whatever we are doing. We just need to know whether are we giving up on it or are we accepting it and moving forward. So when it comes to challenges, Chandra, there is a very important point which comes into picture, and most of the people say that when you start focusing on one particular aspect of your life, you lose out on many other things which were important to you. It can be our personal life, it can be our passions, and so many other things. So was there any instance or was there any situation where you also felt this thing that I am giving too much to Toastmasters, but I'm losing out on my personal and family life? Was there a situation like this?
Well, we all live in the world of FOMO, right? You are the fear of missing out. So, of course, I did also go through that when I was in Toastmasters. In fact, I remember when I was in the district leadership around that time, I was kind of toying with a couple of other institutions as well. One was my own work, the full-time day job which I have at Jain Group of Institutions, but also other one being Young Indians, the Confederation of Indian Industries, Young Indians. Now these three organizations have different responsibilities and different focuses. So when you are kind of leading it and you are at the helm of affairs for that particular term, you got to do justice to all of them. There is no second choice. Now in the bargain, you will actually end up putting a lot of your personal preferences behind. I mean, you don't have time for your family, you don't have time for maybe your hobbies like reading or traveling or whatever. Of course you travel on work, but you don't consider that traveling is going and exploring places or taking a holiday or a vacation. So I did not have time for that. I did not give time for my family. And I also did not give time for my friends other than Toastmasters. It's a different issue that Toastmasters are all good friends and you end up meeting all of them, and you do a area council there or a division council there, and you end up doing a club EC there. But the fact is, you don't really sit over a cup of coffee and discuss nothing, just gossip and that good old fun of pulling each other's leg and all that. But then, if you take to realize that that's the case with everyone. So, in fact, in my own opinion, I have come up the hack towards that, and that is, think of it as like watching a television, maybe Netflix, maybe Amazon Prime, or maybe any other streaming services you subscribe to, or even just the Tata Sky channel. Now, there is only one channel you can watch at one point in time, right? You can't really keep juggling multiple channels because you won't make a sense of anything. So, what I mean to say here is, when you have picked up something, you have all the right and freedom to make a choice before you pick up. Okay, you take your time. You take your time, you consult people, take opinions, read reviews, do what you want. But once you are picked up, enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. Don't leave it, don't abandon the ship, don't stop it. Even to this day, if I take up a series to watch, I don't want to go to any other series till I finish the season. So this point, what I'm trying to make here is, whether it is Toastmasters, whether it is hobby, whether it is your work, whether it is family, whatever it is, you need to balance it. Now you may say, how can I only focus on family and not focus on work? Yes, you can. That 1 hour is your work. The next 1 hour is your family. All of us have 24 hours, right? You pick it up and then you start balancing it and enjoy the show. Please remember, if you don't enjoy and you're thinking about family at work and thinking about work at family, you are not doing a great job. And neither your family will enjoy that, nor your workplace will enjoy that. So, this is my advice and from my experience.
And I totally agree that it's really good advice because, as they say, you need to remain in the present, and that is what makes things happen. I think you have done that wonderfully. So, when in this present part, I would say, when it comes to being that leader in Toastmasters, you have achieved a lot. But has this kind of a leadership roles which you have taken, the learnings which you have got, how have they helped you in your personal life or in your professional front other than Toastmasters? Do they actually have help only when you are in Toastmasters, or do they make a difference when you go into the real world and try to apply these leadership learnings there?
So I'll give you an example, okay, from my own real experience at Toastmasters. Now, this was I don't remember the year because a lot of years get mixed up in Toastmasters. You don't know which year you contested, which year you lost, which year you won, with so many things happening. But the one thing which has kind of stayed in my mind, I want to say this to all of you, is this was regarding a contest which was supposed to happen at Vizag, right? And back then, Vizag and I was actually a part of that division, so it was my division, and rather I think it was the same district, but I was in the district leadership. So whatever it is, there was a contest in Vizag, and for some odd reason, there were some issues going on in one community club, Waltair not Waltair, the community club at Vizag, and there was a problem with the contest. So there was some malpractice or some kind of rumors where the president kind of was involved with certain things and all that. And as a district leader, I had to step in. Now, I tried to manage the entire issue sitting at Hyderabad and saying, okay, what is this? Get me the test results and look at this. I spoke to my other people who were involved, the contest chair, the chief judge, and lot of these things. And you know what? I was not able to wrap my head around the whole thing because if you catch it one place, something else goes missing. I mean, it was that classic situation that you pull one side, the other side get exposed. You pull the other side get exposed. So I was sitting and having this brainstorming thing as to how do we fix this, because everything is a scaffolding effect. If you don't fix the club, then the area gets affected, and then the division and all that. And then we said, okay, you know what? We will do a recontest. Now, recontest means you do re-resources, right? You need to put a chief judge, you need to put number of judges, you need to have contestants, convince them, and all that. And I was talking to a few people, and then we got this crazy idea that why don't we fly in judges, because the whole idea was the contest was rigged. So why don't we bring judges, or rather, airlift the judges and drop them at Vizag, and then do this in a very neutral manner. And now how do you get to people at the last minute? And let me tell you this, I spoke to few people who are Toastmasters but friends before Toastmasters, and they all got ready over 12 hours notice. Like this evening they said tomorrow morning we are leaving to Vizag, and then they ended there, they finished the contest, and then you come back, right? Now why am I sharing this story is this was my biggest lesson in life. You manage things, you lead people. But normally we do reverse. You manage people and you try to lead a contest, you try to lead a particular project, you try to no, you manage things and you lead people. So what I was trying to do before, I was managing the contest and the results and everything, but then I realized that no, this is not going to work. I need to become a leader, I need to understand. So I went for help, and one of the important lessons I've learned being a leader is never ever hesitate asking help, because we think we are supposed to deliver everything. No, you're supposed to ensure the delivery happens. Now you don't have to be at the delivering side, you need to ensure that the delivery happens. So never hesitate to ask, and that is my biggest lesson as a leader in Toastmasters, and thanks to the Toastmasters fraternity I learned this.
So that's, I suppose, is a very amazing lesson which all of us can learn when we take these leadership roles. And this is something which only comes with practice and the practical aspects when we take those roles. So when it comes to understanding that how you need to manage people or lead people, what is there any particular style or any particular tip which you want to give to our fresh leaders which who we are coming up with in Toastmasters? What kind of a leadership style or methods would you want them to have?
So I would rather like to say this. See, today there are many kinds of leadership styles. Okay, so there are different frameworks. Every person has their own way and preferences. But I want to remind you what we learned in school: give respect and take respect. I think that's the first classic lesson in leadership. You give respect and then command respect. And if you don't give respect to people around you, then I don't think, even though you achieve your success, you would have not become a great leader. Because let me tell you, as simple as it may sound, giving respect determines character. You're not respecting the position, the person, the power, or the money the person has. You're respecting the fact that that person is another person. So being respectful of people around you is the first ever lesson when it comes to becoming a leader. Now, the second thing, when it comes to the style of leadership, in Toastmasters, we all patronize the concept of servant leadership. And what do we mean by that? We know that this organization is built on members, by members, and for members. So it's an inverted pyramid model where the leaders, the leaders with the title, I will say, whether it is the district officers or the club officers or anybody, they are at the bottom of the pyramid. The members are at the top of the pyramid. Now if you are cognizant of the fact that I am here to serve, and to command is to serve my members, then I think it doesn't matter what kind of leadership style you want to follow. You want to follow any kind of leadership, because at the end of the day, it's like what Swami Vivekananda said: different rivers originate at different places, flows through different terrains, but finally will find their destiny in the ocean. So it doesn't matter whichever style of leadership you want to take, please take, as long as it serves your members. If you think it is not serving the member, then might as well don't be a leader in the first place, because it doesn't matter what style you have, it's not serving the objective.
Yes. And one curious question which I had, Chandra, over here is that when we are at a pyramid, as you said, we are at a pyramid, many a times there are other people at the same level of that pyramid. And this is something which also happens in our companies and the other jobs that we do. A lot of leadership clashes come into picture,
Yeah.
that you have a particular style and there are people who have another style. You have the same set of people you have to lead. So what was that? If have you ever come across these kind of leadership clashes, maybe in your professional front, if not in Toastmasters, at this, as this is a very friendly kind of
Of course,
environment?
of course, many a times. In fact, that is the reason why people remember me. I don't know whether they remember me for what I have done in Toastmasters, but every time at the beginning of a Toastmasters term, people remember me for one session, that is conflict management. Right, so every time I get this chance to speak to district leaders and talk about conflict management is because conflicts are an integral part of your life, whether it is your professional life, personal life, or your Toastmasters life. So there's no way that nobody can claim that there are zero conflicts. No, it doesn't work like that. But what we need to understand is it's okay to disagree with people around you, as long as you tell them why are you disagreeing, as long as you justify the disagreement. And it's also okay to lose. It's not that it's my way or the highway. It's always fine to say that, you know what, if given to me, I would have done it this way, but it is not my choice to do or my job to do, so you do it the way you want, as long as this is my objective. I mean, look at our the distinguished club program matrix. There is no one way to achieve those points, right? Some clubs will say, okay, we will do all of that and we will achieve these points within November or October of that particular year. Some clubs say, no, why do I need to hurry? I will do it all the way up to February or March of the next year and I will achieve my numbers. So there is no one way. In fact, the essence of Toastmasters is there is no one way to do it. I can do what I want and I can keep doing only leadership roles and without going into speaking, and I will be comfortable with Toastmasters. But there are some people who will say, no, I will finish my DTM first, and I first finish my DTM, and after DTM I will try to become a leader or whatever it is. So the idea here is, please appreciate and acknowledge difference of opinions, because when it is difference of opinion, then the best idea will come out and you can all enjoy the success of that idea. So conflicts are there. We need to learn to live with conflict, around conflict, and manage conflict.
Right. So that's a great advice, I would say, and it will help people not only in developing in the Toastmaster leadership platform, but also across their professions. So as you also said that we need to respect people about around us, we are going to respect one of our audience here who has asked a question, which you can answer in this because we have answered that in detail before as well.
Sure, sure. It will
And
be a
the,
pleasure.
and the question has been asked by Jyotsna Manoharan. Her question is that in the midst of attaining a balance between one's independent professions and passions, what strategy would you propose to achieve both fronts and still have your and work at your own pace without compromises?
Okay. You said Jyotsna, right?
Yes.
All right. So Jyotsna, I would like to tell you the story. This was an annual day function of one of my schools in Hyderabad, and we had Her Excellency, the Governor of Goa, as the chief guest attending the annual function. Now, when her turn to speak came, my anchor that day introduced her to be an author for 42 books. She's a governor, sitting governor of Goa, and she was introduced by my anchor as she's an author, along with being a governor, politician, housewife. She had authored 42 books. I was actually completely taken aback, because how can people manage so much of time to write so many books? Because I'm struggling here to write a book. Then I waited for her to finish her turn, and when she came back to her chair, since I had the opportunity of interacting with her because I was next to her, so I leaned over and I asked, "Ma'am, it is impressive that you have written 42 books. Tell me, how did you manage all this?" And you know what? Without even blinking an eyelid, she looked at me and said, "Well, just give 1 hour every day in the morning, and you can write more than that." I mean, look at the power behind the answer. Jyotsna, if you're listening to this, it is a discipline which takes you there. You can balance anything, whether it is your home, whether it is your passion, whether it is your work, whether it is your hobby or any relationship. It is the discipline. But you need to be focused on that. 1 hour a day, and she said you can do it. And that person has written 42 books. And if she's saying something like that, that means she's speaking out of experience, right? So have that plan and work the plan. And if we can do it, it's very easy to say for me also, because I struggle with it every day, that I can say that, okay, have a plan and start doing it. But we are not machines. We have emotions, and every emotion tears us apart. But that's the difference between an ordinary person and an extraordinary person. We need to bring it together and get our act right. And if we can do that through discipline, you get everything. You get the best of all worlds.
Yeah, I think that is one thing which is missing in most of us, the discipline which we need to have. You're not the only one. And Chandra, for sure, we will be waiting for your book to come in soon as it will have lots of learning. So now, as we have had a little bit of, I would say, learnings and a lot of anecdotes that we have got from you, there is time for some fun. And here we will have a rapid fire round with you. And we
Okay,
hope that you will answer in all your honesty with all the questions. So,
I'll try my
Chandra,
best.
what's your favorite food?
Homemade, anything homemade.
Okay,
But if you
your
want to
favorite.
really get the thing, I love pasta, and I also enjoy what is it? Dal, the typical dal tadka. Yeah,
That's what we call an Indo-Western mix, I suppose. Right. What's your favorite holiday destination?
I love forests. I always enjoy trekking, so I try to go as much as possible. And the next thing after forest is mountains. I don't like much of beaches and deserts, but I love forest and mountains. So anywhere which is taking me close to the nature, wildlife, I love it.
That's great. And I suppose that is why you're also achieving a lot of heights in your success. How many filler words did you have in your first speech that you delivered?
How many fillers? Oh, well, I don't remember that, but I remember that I did a very bad job because the second time I gave my icebreaker, I changed the entire first speech. So I don't know how many fillers I had, but I knew that I did a bad job.
Okay, so what was your experience with the icebreaker?
It was good. It was, it was a kind of a very weird feeling because you're trying telling about your life to strangers, and the reason you're telling it is to make them your friends. But then they're still strangers till they hear you, so you don't know what is actually to be told. So you don't know which part of life you want to speak about because 4 minutes is too less. Whether you will speak about your childhood or your family or your ambitions, we don't know. So it was kind of a weird feeling for me, and that was one of the reason why I changed it from the first time to second time, because first time I spoke all about my ambition, and they said, dude, we don't know anything about you, where are you from, what is your life. And then I come back and then I gave my exact speech, like the typical thing. Okay, on this midnight I was born, and then my mother, father, all that. But yeah, it is, that's fun.
Okay, how many times have you repeated your same speech?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. So there are a couple of speeches. They are very close to my heart. One is the life speech. I keep saying LIFE. It's an acronym for. There is an acronym which I have developed out of life. So that's David Hartman's speech. I think I must have given that more than 100 times. Okay, so that's one of my favorite speeches, and I keep doing it. And that's the best thing is, it's like it's like salt. It gets added, and it changes the taste of every dish. So I keep putting it in every context. So it's fantastic. So that speech 100 plus times I have repeated it. But apart from that, I have not repeated many speeches.
Okay, have you ever sweated, shivered, or blanked out in your speeches?
Yeah, I told you, right? One of my district contests, I kind of blanked out and I did not know what to do, but then I recovered. That's a different story. But yes, I have done it on the big stage. And in other places, not that I remember, because I don't think I have blanked out. Because the advantage I have is I'm never short of words. So I'll fit something in at that time and get away. And or the best thing I'll do is when I don't know what I have to say, I'll ask a question to the audience. So by the time they come back, I'll build my story from the answers I get from the audience. So I've not blanked out there, but in the contest, yes, I did once.
I think that's a great strategy to do. Okay, define leadership in 3 words.
Leadership in 3 words. So that's one of my favorite, right way leadership.
That's great. Okay, you are a morning person or a night person?
Morning person, without a doubt. Early to bed, early to rise.
You would prefer bowling or batsman?
Batting. I love Sachin Tendulkar batting. And to be
Biryani or
precise, opening.
bibimbap? Sorry?
Sorry? To be precise, opening
Biryani,
batting.
biryani or bibimbap?
I don't enjoy biryani because you can't enjoy biryani in vegetarian. So I always go with bisibelebath.
Okay. Okay. You were widely known as CSK. So do you also cheer for the CSK team more?
No, 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 no. I don't. I'm a Bangalorean by birth, so for me it's always Royal Challengers.
Okay, so one and the most important question, who are you most scared of?
Most scared of?
Yes, one person whom you're most scared of.
So well, I was when I was growing up, I was scared of my father.
And
Very
now?
very scared. Very scared. Now I'm scared of. I can say I don't know one person who I'm scared of. Um, yeah, that's a good question. I don't have an answer to. But when I was growing up, I was definitely scared of my father. Maybe now, I don't know. I am not very sure about who I'm scared of.
Okay,
Sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
no problem. So thanks for that lovely round of rapid fire. Now let's get back to a little bit of our learning session. So the first question which I have is that when you have filled all your buckets with so much of learning in through Toastmasters, were there any situations in your life where you felt that you have failed, and now when you look back to them after all these learnings, you think that maybe you did not have these learnings, that's why the reason because of which you failed?
Well, I see. I mean, definitely, I have failed on many number of occasions. Than I have succeeded, and it goes without saying that's the same with everyone. So there's no doubts about it. But yes, uh, I mean, if I have failed after having tried everything, then I take it in my stride. But if I fail without giving my best shot, I cannot forgive myself. So it has happened on a couple of occasions where I knew I could have done something, but I did not do for whatever reason, best known then. But then that kind of comes back to haunt you. Now, to answer your question, when you say what kind of learnings you did not have so that you could have succeeded then, I think there are three learnings which I really really cherish all the time in my life. Number one is when I am trying to do, for me it's about means and the end. So your means should always justify the end. And whenever I have thought of achieving something and when I know that I have compromised the means, then it doesn't give me that flavor of a successful flavor. So I keep feeling that no, I should have not done it. Even though I won or I've succeeded, I should not have done it. So that's one learning. The second learning which I really really cherish is larger good. Right, it's not about you getting your way, it's about larger good. So sometimes you may have to compromise, sometimes you may have to give up, but at the end of the day, is it achieving the larger good? And at the same time, you cannot satisfy everyone. You need to make that hard call. In fact, one of my mentors told me this: you need to rule with an iron fist with a velvet glove. Okay, so you need to be firm but fair. So that's my biggest learning. So if you don't rule it the way you rule it as a leader, it doesn't work. That is my second biggest learning. I wish I had that learning before I went forward. The third and the last learning, which I really really take it back to my bed every day, is do your best, because it's only the effort which will give you the result. It is not the other way. So you don't try to time and say this is the result I want and I will give you this much effort. No, you don't know how much effort it takes to get the result. So give your best. After which, if you don't get the result, it's okay. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's very easy to say on the screen, I know it, but then I'm seeing speaking out of experience. So I have failed more times than I have succeeded, and I have some regrets, but I don't have any complaints.
I think that is a great learning you have shared with all of us, and we getting it in the right time. I think we can look forward to having a better future coming up for us. Now, as they say, Chandra, that no leadership goes without taking risks. You have to be a risk taker if you want to be a great leader. Most of us are scared of taking risks, and that is why we lack back somewhere in becoming great leaders. What was that one situation or one risk which you feel was the biggest, which could have costed you everything, but you still took it?
Okay. So now this is a very important memory I cannot forget. In fact, this was my first term as a division director. I mean, the only term, but the first time I became a division director. But let me tell you this before even going into the story. Rajdeep Manwani He is another famous Toastmaster. I am sure some of you must have heard about him from Bangalore. He keeps saying this in his speeches, and I quote that: "To not take any risk is the biggest risk you take in life." Right, and that's so very wonderfully put. But then coming to the story, so this was this when we are having a district conference in Orissa, Bhubaneswar, or rather Puri, and this was the night of the fun night. And fun night, we all know that we keep enjoying and dance and music and everything. So this was around 10 o'clock in the night, and we just finishing the round of dance, and everybody is having their good time. But one guy comes up from nowhere, and this guy is not even a Toastmaster. He happens to be a relative of a Toastmaster. He comes up on the stage and he pulls the plug of the music where people are in the middle of a dance. Okay, and then he says, "Go home, fun night is done." Okay, and I was there. I don't normally dance, so I was there on the sideline, and I was waiting for my friends to come over so that we can go and have dinner. We have not even had dinner, so I was waiting for there. And when I was holding the plate and I was waiting, and I saw this, I could not believe my eyes. This actually happened in a Toastmasters event. But somebody comes up on stage and he pulls the plug without the common courtesy of telling people, "You have 10 more minutes. You wind up. You can have dinner. Whatever may be their compulsions." I respect that. So this guy comes up, and then I walk up to him and I said, "Listen, this is not the way you do it. And I don't even know who you are, but this is not the way you do it. Let them enjoy their dance," because they were in the middle of a song. So they wanted that song to get over. And then they said, one last song, like every party they do. And this guy is not ready to listen. So I dropped the plate. I said, "You put on that song, or else I'm not going to have dinner. And along with me, none of my people, none of my division people are going to eat dinner." Now, that's a big risk I'm taking on stage, because I don't know if the next guy says, "Boss, to hell with you, I'm tired, I'll go and have my dinner." Right? So I took that particular risk, and I don't know what made me do that. And the guy is not knowing what to do. And let me tell you, I was lucky. None of my division people know. None of the other Toastmasters walked to that dinner counter to take their dinner, and they can't shut down the party or shut down the whole event without we eating dinner, because that's 200 people not eating dinner. They can't say fun night is over and dinner is not served. Then the guy went back and put it and do it, because the idea was, it's not about proving that I am right and he's wrong. It's about respecting each other. You can't pull a plug of the music and say, "Go to hell." You can't do that. And you have to treat people like equals. And first of all, that person is not even a Toastmaster, so he has no business in a Toastmaster setup. That's what I believed. And I went and took a big risk on stage, saying none of us are going to eat dinner, and they all backed me. And I think that has taught me that if you stand up, and if you stand up for the right thing, people will always support you.
Yes, I'm sure that's a very important risk which you have taken, and which has also shown how Toastmaster community backs you up in every single task that you do if you are doing the right thing. And that's a great learning which we get from Toastmasters. But as at the same point, you've seen that Toastmaster backs you up with everything that comes up. We also hear a lot at times from people that people who are already CEOs or who are already into some managerial levels get a benefit over others who have just started their journey in Toastmasters. So when you joined Toastmaster, you were already a CEO. Did you get any special benefits being a CEO? Did you get any special backings that, oh, he's already somebody, so he should be somewhere and something like that? Were there any benefits, special benefits, I would tag it, given to you?
Well, I get where you're going with this. So let me tell you, for the record, I was not a CEO when I got into Toastmasters. I was a chief operating officer. But that does not take away the fact that I was supposed to be given special treatment in your world, but not in my world. Because the only special treatment I got was, people asked me to repeat my project four, how to say it, four times. So that was the kind of special treatment I got. Now, I mean, let's get to the main stuff. The point here is, see, of course, I agree that your perception reaches ahead of your personality. That's true. But the fact, what happens, at least with me in Toastmasters, is just because you are at one particular level in a particular job or in a particular career does not mean that you can start there, because I don't know anybody who has got 20 years of experience in his work coming and starting with his DTM project straight away. You got to start from icebreaker, no matter where you are. That is how the system is made, right? Nobody gets, okay, you are a CCO already because you got 10 years of work experience. You are a CEO, so you are already maybe, what, ALB or ACB in the back old days, but I don't know what you are calling it, pathways 2 or pathways 3 or whatever. They don't do that. But personally, if I have to speak, it was very tough for me. It was very tough because you are judged. See, if normally people are looking at you through a telescope, I was looked at through a microscope. So every place you go, you get scanned. You get, because they know that, okay, he can't do this, he can't do this, he can't do this. Now that he can't do this is very easy to say, but you really feel very claustrophobic. You really feel very suffocated. My friends were there to back me up, no doubt about it. But the fact is, you don't get any special treatment. Remember, I told at the beginning, overnight success takes 10 years. So if you are finding somebody as a package in front of you, because they worked that much hard.
Yes, so I suppose that's a very good example that we all who are new to Toastmasters would understand. Many a times we get this view that people who have already achieved something in their personal lives are given special benefits. But with your
I just want to add one here. Anybody who's a new Toastmaster or relatively new or 1 year into it or 2 years into it, please remember this. This is my honest request. Nobody is bothered about what you have done before entering that meeting. All of us in Toastmasters are looking at the speech you gave. In fact, in evaluations, we learn this. You are not evaluating the speaker, you are evaluating the speech the speaker gave, right? So, you please feel free. It doesn't matter. Student, you are listening to this, tell, I don't care. I am a Toastmaster. You're a CEO, I am a Toastmaster. You're a teacher, I'm a Toastmaster. You're a businessman, I'm a Toastmaster. You're a housewife, I'm a Toastmaster. That's it. That's a single designation we all have. TM in front of us. That's it.
yes, and I think that one designation puts us all at the same level and only differentiates on the basis of what we are achieving when we are in Toastmasters. That also I would not say differentiate, but yes, we level up there with our learnings. And yes, we extend our hands after that learnings as we all become mentors, as you are one to us right now. We all become these mentors for all different roles and going forward. One last question, which Chandra, we have from you is you have spent almost 8 years in Toastmasters. Have you ever got a thought that it's been too long, I should just quit it? In these 8 years, was there a time you felt it's too much of a learning overload now? There is no more for me to learn anything new. So I must just either take a break or just quit for some time. Was that quitting anywhere in the back of your mind?
Well, I must admit that it has definitely crossed my mind multiple times, because every time you do it, what happens is you achieve something. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of energy, and then you feel that, okay, let me take a break, let me take a back seat, and I don't have any problem in that, because that's human. Everybody wants to do that. There is burnout, there is some kind. So it's like, there is a nice quotation which I believe in: distractions are required for attractions. So you need to get distracted once in a while to stay attracted. So that's a simple thing. But then the opposite is also true. The other side is also true. There is no end for learning. There is no end for learning. And I mean, look at Toastmasters as a setup. When I joined in 2012, we had the earlier education program. That is, you give 43 speeches and you become a DTM. So the goal was very clear, that 43 speeches and I want to become DTM, and I took 2 years and I became a DTM or whatever. Now, the minute I finished my DTM and I was busy with the leadership journey, what Toastmasters International did very smartly, they brought in pathways. Okay. Now pathways there, I was told 15 or 16 paths are there, and I'm not very active in pathways because I've still yet to start my journey there. But the fact is, now that's a hell a lot of learning to do. And if you don't do it, you are there. So I mean, tell me one thing. If I don't know I have to learn this, I might say I will retire. But when I know there is so much more to learn, how can you retire? So the learning will never end. So for all of you who are contemplating that, okay, it's too much, lot of learning, as the saying goes, there's no end to learning. Learning never ceases. Only the learner stops to learn. That's it. So we don't want to be that learner. But To be very frank with you, it's okay to take breaks. It's okay. I mean, you must know that story of the charcoal, right? So I'll just make it a small story for all of you to find end up. So there was this guy who used to go and attend the church mass every Sunday. After a few months, he got bored of the mass. So he said, fine, I'm not going to go because nothing great has happened in my life. I'll just stay back and enjoy my Sunday lazily. So I wake up late and enjoy. So he never turned up for the mass. So the church pastor who was seeing that guy regularly coming notices that he never turned up for the last 1.5, 2 months. So he kind of realizes that, okay, these guys need my visit. So the father in the afternoon on one Sunday walks into the guy's house, knocks the door, and enters the house. And the guy is shocked to see the father at his residence. Like, okay, father, please come and sit down. And he takes him. And they were sitting there. And that was evening, tea time. So he says, can I offer you some tea? He says, yeah, yeah, please get me some tea. So he went. But by that time, they were sitting at the fireplace. So father was sitting there, and the man went to get some tea for the father. And he looks at this fire filled with charcoal, which is burning. So he took a plate, a thong, and then pulled up four charcoals, put it on the plate, and kept it at the center table. So this guy comes back with tea, and he's shocked to see charcoal in his center table. So he's like, "Well, father," he says, "No, no, give me the tea." So they both enjoy their cup of tea without speaking a single word. Without speaking a single word. So they finish their tea, good 15, 20 minutes pass, and then all that charcoal, which was red hot, now suddenly has become, filled with ash, and it has become sobered down. And then the father looks at him and looks at the charcoal, again looks at him, looks at the charcoal, and then gets up, takes the plate, takes the thong, takes all the charcoal and puts it back to the fireplace. And he says, well, my son, the point is being made. So I'll leave you for the rest of the evening. I'll see you next Sunday at the church. And he walks back. What is the moral of the story? That it's not about what you have learned and how much you have learned and how much you have gained. It's about the company, the ecosystem. They make it. Now the charcoal, which when it was pulled out of fire, within 20 minutes it became dull and it was sobered down. But then when it went back, it again started getting that fire. It started glowing. So the point here is Toastmasters is that fireplace for us. We need to be there, part of the ecosystem, because it keeps us challenged. It keeps us, there, and it keeps us churning and growing. So we need to make that conscious call. It's okay to go slow. In fact, the whole fundamental foundation of Toastmasters is it's a self-centered, self-paced program. I decide my pace. You don't decide my pace. You may be my club president, you may be my mentor, you may be my district director. You have nothing to do with my learning. I decide my pace and place. So the point here is be a part of the ecosystem, because never let the fire within you get extinguished.
That's a great learning that we all Toastmasters have got from DTM Chandra. And I would say, yes, Toastmasters is that one place which is always ready to support you with the fire that you have to burn it more brighter and to make you better every single day, as it has done to Toastmaster Chandra and many of us coming together. Thank you so much, Toastmaster DTM Chandra, for giving us your valuable lessons that you have learned throughout your process of learning. And I suppose they will be of great help to all the people across community, because we always learn from others' learnings too. And I suppose that's an easier way to do it that we have got today. With this, we have kept the chats open for everyone. If you have any queries or any questions that you would want to pose at DTM Chandra, you can post it to the host here.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's indeed a great pleasure. In fact, you made me revisit some of those days of mine when I was in the leadership at Toastmasters. It's amazing. It's nice to see how the fraternity has grown, and especially in the times of these uncertain times, the COVID times, the way we have come together, the way we have used our voice to make a difference, the way we are connecting with people across the country, across different countries. I think it's simply amazing. So, I mean, I may be a CEO in one organization, in one city, in one country, but if you are a Toastmaster, you have access to 150 countries. I mean, look at it. Look at the kind of access we have thanks to this fraternity, thanks to this community. So, thank you very much for this great opportunity. And yes, we have questions, I can take them, or you want me to answer them on offline and get them back to you on a mail, I'm ready to do that, because it's always pleasure to stay connected and to get connected.
Thank you, DTM Chandra, for that. And I suppose all of us who have questions, you can either post it to us and we will post them to Toastmaster Chandra to answer them offline. As we have come towards the end of this amazing session, an unparalleled learning and many anecdotes which could help us in going forward in our Toastmasters journey. I would also like to thank very special people who we have with us. One is our Division N Director, DTM Mayuri, who is joining us for this session. Thank you so much, DTM Mayuri, for being a part of this session. Means a lot to all of us taking this initiative. We also have our area director of Area N1, Toastmaster Yash, who has graced his presence to this occasion. We also have our PR chair, Toastmaster Anuj, who is the PR for the District 98. And as we say, last but not the least, what matters is the group of people who make things happen. As Chandra said, we all work together to achieve something great, and we need to respect them. We have with us people who have made this whole event, this whole show happen. A lot of creative ideas have all been put through these people, and I don't think we could have had it without them. So let me first call our owner for this particular episode, Toastmaster Priyadarshini. So Toastmaster Priyadarshini, how was your experience listening to somebody so experienced in that field, contacting him and making this episode work?
Thank you, Pragya. Honestly speaking, I'm privileged and grateful for organizing today's talk show with the most versatile Toastmaster DTM Chandrashekhar. This evening was all about abounds of learning, admiration, inspiration, and whatnot. But I had to jot down all your key points, being glued to your, the answers. We have a lot piled up in a bag that we carry post the show. Thank you very much. Thanks a ton to Pastor Chandra. I strongly believe upon one quote: everything happens for a reason. And I believe today's session happened for a reason that it inspired most of us all. From your quotes, your anecdotes, the learnings, the sharing like experiences, and values in the non-judgmental Toastmasters community, which is it is all about. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chandra, and thank you to the collaborative and dynamic team I worked with in making this first episode of Vantage Point a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Priyadarshini. Now, a person who holds a very important position in whatever activities we have to promote, who is our PR person, who has handled making those interesting posters, making both the moderator and the speaker look handsome and attractive, and noting down all the points and promoting us this event. We have Toastmaster Gunjan with us. Toastmaster Gunjan.
Yes, thank you, Priya. First of all, I thank Division EFGHN PR team for taking me in the team, and it is actually such a learning experience. I remember right from the inception of this talk show, while we're discussing with Anuj and the whole team, how the name came up, Vantage Point, how we came up to the poster design. And yes, I should say that while I was making the poster of DTM Chandra, I was making the poster, I was writing the introduction, and looking at that, I thought, wow, this is going to be something a very learning. I can say there will be so many takeaways, and there were so many takeaways indeed from all the stories you told. Thank you for coming and gracing this first episode by your presence, Toastmaster Chandra.
Thank you, Gunjan. And I suppose, like all of us, DTM Chandra, Gunjan was as fascinated to see all the, all the things you've achieved in your life till now, as we all were. And we were at the back of the mind thinking, God, what are we doing sitting here? Nothing, something which you achieved in Toastmasters also yet. So all of us was fascinated with that. Last but not the least, I would also request Toastmaster Shravani, who has been managing our meeting for today, who has been host for the meeting, doing a tedious task, which at least I can't do, managing the whole Zoom, being a tech master and managing the whole Zoom account. How was your experience?
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you, Pragya, for this introduction. It was really great time today to host this session and playing the role of Zoom master. As you rightly said, there will be a lot of learnings from others' learnings too. So we had taken a lot of learnings from Toastmaster Chandra today through his learnings, and I'm extremely happy to be part of this organizing team, and I was so excited for this first episode, and it turned out really so well that we all had so many things to take back, and even I had to. Thank you. I'm very thankful for this opportunity.
Thank you, Shravani. Last, I would say I am there in front of you from last almost 1 hour, asking very difficult questions to Chandra. I am the lead for this particular. I mean, I would say it was something which Anuj trusted me with, which even I did not trust. So that's what a real leader, I would say, means. I'm the lead for these talk shows which are coming up, and the moderator for you today, learning a lot from DTM Chandra. Last, as we come towards the end, DTM Chandra, we have got a few questions. If you can just grace us with 5 more minutes. So we have two questions that have come from the audience. We have one question from Shrikant Matsa, who has asked, how would you motivate and be a great leader when it comes to asking members and to attend the meetings and to get new members to the club?
Yeah, I think this is very important that the whole fraternity of Toastmasters is built on supporting each other. Now, I would like to remind all of us the oath which we took when we become members, the Toastmasters promise. I mean, if you go through the lines, it's very clear that it talks about these words. I will participate, or I will attend, I will support, I will encourage, I will applaud, I will respect. It's these things. So let me tell you this very frankly. It's a tough job for the EC. It's not easy to fill up roles. It's not easy to get the meetings going on. And as a leader, when I was there, the biggest responsibility was to keep our leaders motivated. Because, see, you can't clap in one hand. If the leaders are trying to throw it at you, you need to throw it back by your hand. That's when the sound resonates. So, for all members, don't wait for somebody to tell you or request you to take up roles, because you may not be interested in your growth, but definitely you have to participate to become that I'm growing. Or you don't want somebody else to take responsibility. I say, in my simple words, in my office, I say, you can't outsource your responsibility. When you've taken your oath, you are taking responsibility for growing, for your club, for your other members. So try to be there and support. It's okay if you don't want to participate. Go, have the courtesy to go to your EC and say, listen, 6 months, don't disturb me, I will not be there. But just don't be a silent spectator. Don't be on the sidelines. And when your team wants you to play, don't say, I forgot my bat. Don't do that. Okay, so
Yes,
that's not right. So the answer to you, Shrikant, is as simple as this. Tell people you are a Toastmaster first and leader next. You may be a leader for today, but tomorrow you are just a Toastmaster. And tell them and remind them they are a Toastmaster today. Tomorrow they may become leader. So it's give and take.
so that's something I think which will help Toastmaster Shrikant and all of us, seeing the online fatigue that everybody has got and we're not attending meetings. As DTM Chandra also said, that it's a great platform open across globe for you right now. Please leverage it by attending all the Toastmasters meetings, as many as you can, because the learning never stops. So Chandra, next question we have is from Toastmaster Sai Lakshmi, who has asked that please give a strong book recommendation, one for communication and one on leadership.
Okay. So, my favorite book is A Whole New Mind by Daniel Pink. It's not a book on communication, it's not a book on leadership, it's a book on how your mind works. And I think everybody needs that, because you need to make sure that where you have to appeal to. Because people listen to you when you can speak those right words at the right time. So, A Whole New Mind by Daniel Pink is my favorite book, and I would go ahead and recommend it. And I have a lot of recommendations on leadership, but my favorite there is again the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, the story of my experiments with truth. I think it's a fantastic open book, I will say. I mean, nobody I have ever read has the courage to write about their sins in the book. Nobody I have read in their biographies, and that too, it's an autobiography that they are writing. It's not somebody writing them. And they had the courage, he had the courage to write about all the blunders, mistakes, and I will say sins he has committed in his life. And he said, as you said rightly, Pragya, it's easy to learn from others' mistakes. So if somebody is showing up their worst side, we know what can be our better side. So these are my recommendations. Of course, I have a lot of books, but then I'm sure your genre is different, my genre is different. So I'll stay there.
And you are still to send all of us the picture of all the books that you read. We are waiting for it.
Okay.
Last but not the least, we have a message from Toastmaster Bharti Ramneni, who's from HTN, and she says
Yeah,
that
yeah, I know
as
Bharti,
always,
ma'am.
yes, and she says that as always, it's been a great learning from you, Chandra.
Oh, I have a one thing to say about Bharti, ma'am. I still remember I was there at the district leadership then. Uh, I mean, not so they say right, empty vessels make more noise. So if I am talking everywhere, you can consider me as an empty vessel because it makes a lot of noise. But Bharti madam is one filled vessel. I'll give you an example or a real incident from her life. There was an area director, for whatever reason that leader could not complete his or her term, so she had to drop out. Bharti madam, in spite of her family, in spite of it was never on her radar to become a leader and to serve as an area director. But she took it up at the last, I think it was November. And the rule in Toastmaster says if you have not finished, 6 months, you can't get the credit. I mean, you are coming to the last thing. I don't remember the exact thing, but I know one thing that it was well over 6 months. She took it up and she achieved laurels for that area. It was not even her area. She took it up as an area director, an interim area director. She achieved laurels for the area, and then she handed up without any problem. She never even came back and said, "Give me credit," or "I will become division director," or "Give me another term." Nothing. Now, tell me one thing. I mean, hats off to that lady and Bharti ma'am, as we call her. But if one person can step up into another person's leadership responsibility, what is stopping from a member to do his or her job for her or his growth? It is your growth in Toastmasters. That's why you pay $45. That's why you become a member. That's why you took the oath. So that is a great learning. So I always respect Bharti ma'am and nice to hear from her. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DTM Chandra and Bharti ma'am. I would say we have lots and lots of people with us who have inspiring stories and learnings that we get from there through Toastmasters. It's an open platform, and everything we can put on our plate is our own learning and pleasure, I would say. With this, we come towards the end of this interesting talk show's first episode today. Thank you, DTM Chandra, again for gracing your presence and gracing us with lots of learnings that you have had. They would obviously add to our journey going forward. With
Thank
this,
you.
thank you all the audience. We come towards the end of our episode 1. Keep a track of what we are coming up next with. I'm sure you would have lots of learning to come on your way. Thank you.
Thank you. And it is nice to see Mayuri. Thank you. Bye.
Also, audience, if anybody of you still have any questions, you can post it to us. Maybe Anuj would share his contact with you. If there are any more queries with you, I suppose DTM Chandra would be there always with us to answer all the queries that we have.
Definitely. So I'll put my email ID in the chat box. If you have any questions, please feel free to forward. I see Mayuri ma'am wants to speak. So I'll just quickly unmute Mayuri ma'am.
Thank you so much, Anuj, for unmuting me, because I really wanted to appreciate on behalf of the entire cluster of EFGHN, the leadership team. Thank you for putting this together, Vantage Point. A fantastic initiative, very well done in the very first episode. It was a pleasure to be here, and it's always a pleasure to listen to Chandra and all his stories. I have lots of personal in episodes when I was just a newbie at Toastmasters, but I'll keep that aside. But congratulations to the entire team of Vantage Point, and thank you, Anuj, Pragya, Shravani, Priyadarshini, everybody, Gunchan, everybody who's done a fantastic job. All of us, the 5 division directors, are really very happy with the efforts. So keep up the good work, and we look forward to the next one already.
It's such a pleasure to listen from you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your words. And I would say it wouldn't have been possible without the guidance we received from all the division directors we have in for the 5 divisions. So thank you so much for encouraging us all the time and supporting us. Thank you so
Look
much.
forward to the next one.
Pragya, I'll stop the recording and I'll just put up a chat, my email ID in the chat box.
We also have Toastmaster Sandeep with us, our division director.